All right. Welcome, folks, for a morning to learn Chassidus. In this week's parsha of Kairach, where Kairach rebels um, against Moshe Rabbeinu, the Zohar says that on a deeper level, Kairach was desiring something that was very lofty, a very lofty divine connection to God. And makes it as if there's almost nothing wrong in what Kairach did. Whereas in the simple level, when we read the story, he seems to be, completely off the path, that he gets punished in a very severe way. Now, that's the deeper level of understanding. With the simple level, they don't have to always match up, but there needs to be some kind of, um, what's the word I'm looking for? Something that is somewhat comparable from the simple meaning to the esoteric mystical meaning, especially as we know that Pshat, Remez, Drush, Soid, the four levels of learning Torah, simple meaning, as Rashi is, the hinted meaning, the homiletic meaning, the um, the mystical secrets. They're the four worlds. So the highest world, that's, the Atzilus, is where the mystical meaning comes from, and everything evolves or devolves down. So there has to be some kind of connection between the various levels of learning Torah. And here on the simple level, it seems like Peruch is, quite the negative guy. And on the mystical level, his intent and whatnot was a very lofty one, wanting to be the Kohen Gadol. So Rebbe explains. First of all, and a further question is, why would the 250 men that came with Kerach, why would they bring Keteris, the incense, when they know already that it's happened in the past? Nadav and Avihu, the two sons of Aaron, they brought incense and they died. So where did they think what happened to them? Furthermore, in the discussions between Moshe and Kerach and his company, Moshe says, I also want to be a Kohen Gadol. Now, first of all, what does that mean? Why do we want to be a Kohen Gadol? And even if you want to say, okay, whatever, there's something to that, why express it? What is that helping the situation over here? So the Rebbe explains like this. At Matan Torah, it's God says at the giving of the Torah that Gam b'cha yaminu li'olam. All in you, Moshe, not only will the people believe in me forever, but they'll also believe in you forever. So the question then is, if they're going to believe forever, it means all generations are going to be believers in Moshe. Moshe being the prophet of God that brought us the Torah. So how is it that in his very own generation, Kerach rebels against him and isn't believing in him? How do we understand that? Seb explains that truth is Kerach wasn't a non-believer in Moshe. He knew who Moshe was. He knew he's God's choice at Mount Sinai. That was clear that he's God's choice to be the leader of the Jewish people. And he didn't even question the fact that Aaron, was the original choice. But just as we see that Moshe can pray to God and change a reality, right? So he knows that a reality can be changed. And therefore, he is suggesting that that reality should change. And there's precedent to a reality changing, not just through prayer, but God changes reality. Who was the first ones to serve God? Who were the first ones? Were the firstborns. But because they sinned with the golden calf, so it was taken away from them and given to the Levites. Well, Aaron himself was involved in the sin of the golden calf, so it could be taken away from him. So their request is whatever was, but they want to have this. And with this, we can understand that they had a desire to be so connected with God. As we see in the second base of Mikdash, there are people that wanted so badly to be the Kohen Gadol, they even paid to get the position, even though they saw year after year that people died when they were in the Holy of Holies on Yom Kippur and weren't appropriate to be there. They died. But yet the experience was so great, so lofty, that they wanted it. And this is what he's saying. I want to be so close to God. And desiring it, requesting it, demanding it, because it's such a lofty place to be. So that desire is a very lofty desire. And with this, then we can understand why Moshe says, I also want that. In other words, absolutely valid. It's absolutely valid. The desire. The desire is valid, but in reality, though, it is something that belongs to who God chose. And that choice isn't being removed. So what we have over here is an appropriate desire, but it's not something that should be acted upon just because you have that desire. It's not your place. We see that the Rambam writes that anybody who is not from the tribe of Levi but wants to devote themselves to God can do so. You can. Here, when it comes to the Kohen Gadol, we see the opposite. Anybody that has the desire, well, can't fulfill and play out that desire because it's not their place. So everybody, on the one hand, who desires to be a Levi, meaning to serve God, you can serve. But if someone wants to be a Kohen Gadol, has the desire, you can have the desire, but you can act upon that desire. Um, it's not your place unless you've been appointed. So the Rebbe explains that there are three different ways to engage with Hashem. There's doing mitzvahs, study of Torah, and self-sacrifice. Doing mitzvahs everybody has to do, right? And also you have to do the mitzvah study of Torah, which might mean just a chapter in the morning, a chapter in the evening. And that's everybody. But then there are those who choose a different path in life. They choose to be more removed from this world, like the Levim, right? They're more removed. They don't have land. And they represent that idea of study of Torah. Study of Torah meaning not just chapter in the morning, chapter in the afternoon, but that's your life. Right. The first level is doing mitzvahs, which is in the material world, because we're talking about material people who are involved in a material world. And those who remove themselves and are in the world of soulfulness of Torah and remove themselves. So anybody who wants can. The third level is self-sacrifice. So self-sacrifice is something that everybody should want to do, be ready to do. That's want to do, be ready to do, right? But in fact, don't do in the sense of, totally giving up your life until you've been appointed to, or called upon on high, that you have to give up your life. So it's something that you're ready to do, that you want to do when any time that would be appropriate, but it's not something that you actually do. Like the Kohen Gadol. Everybody should want to be the Kohen Gadol. Everybody should want to have that very profound, unique relationship with Hashem, as the high priest does. But in the end, you don't act upon it, just like you don't act upon self-sacrifice just because you want self-sacrifice. And God brings a situation that you need self-sacrifice, and you sacrifice yourself. So here, that desire you should have. So here, what do we see is an amazing thing. That Korach really wasn't rebelling against Moshe in his being the leader. He was rebelling that in the choice that he made, he said, well, that could change. And he could be. Or the 250 who wanted, they could be. And the desire is one thing, but to make division, to create a battle as a result, that's already crossing a great line. That, of course, is a result of that. Even innocent people, innocent children, went down to the grave as a result. Not because of the desire, but because of the machlokes, the divisiveness that it created. So you created divisiveness that you wanted to go to a higher place. But because of your desire, this is what you created. So what happens? You get swallowed alive, you go to a lower place. And likewise, those who were burned up in a fire of the incense, you wanted to have a greater connection, right? Which is like a fire that wants, when you look at the flame, you see how it flickers and wants to go out of itself because you want to have this unique um, connection to Hashem as the Kohen Gadol is the high priest. Well, since you crossed the line and you made divisiveness in your desire, rather than just, okay, you have that desire, but then you move forward and do what you got to do in your area that Hashem has placed you in this world to do. So you created the divisiveness of what your desire to go higher. Also, you're going higher in the flame. Right. Not in the way it should be, though. So we see that the consequence reflected exactly what they were. And this we can understand another sikha that the Rebbe writes, something that we mentioned yesterday in Chumash Rashi, of the whole idea of why the staff of Aaron, all the staffs of the leaders, are put into the Holy of Holies, and Aaron's staff blossomed naturally into an almonds that grew on the staff. And the Rebbe asked, why naturally? It's because you might think that, Moshe's appointment of Aaron is because God told him, and that's the appointment, but not that it is connected to Aaron and who and what he is. He's appointed doesn't mean that you are worthy it on your own stead. The fact that they needed another miracle to show that Aaron is the Kohen Gadol, it was to show that not only is this God's choice, but he is naturally the choice because as he grew into the job because of his natural being of who he is. So he's fitting for it naturally. A miracle happens and there's a growth of this almond on the staff. But it didn't just grow almonds, but it grew the flowers and the process on how things develop. It happened on the staff to show that it's a natural tendency of Aaron in and of himself that he is the one fitting for the job. So it wasn't like, someone promoted, given a job that is not really part and parcel of who he is. It's very much a reflection of who and what he is. Beautiful sikha from the Rebbe. I hope that was clear. Thank you.